If you're like me, you loved playing outside as a kid, but since the pandemic, the world has been a little bit different, and playing outside has become harder to do during all of this. So a lot of people, like myself, have started to play more video games as a byproduct. This demand leads me and many other big investors to believe that gaming is on the up and up. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Hello and welcome to the Investing 365 YouTube channel. I'm your host, Ruslanji, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about an entire industry. You guys probably know that most of the time on the channel, I talk about companies and do stock evaluation. Sometimes I do Turo and Tesla videos, but today I wanted to switch things up and talk to you guys about an entire industry, which happens to be, if you clicked on it because of the title, the gaming industry. This channel is all about bringing you guys value, and this is exactly why I wanted to make this video, because the gaming industry, in my opinion, has so much more room to grow, and that we're not even at the tip of the iceberg or the potential that it might have in the next 5, 10, and 20 years. And if you're anything like me, you're looking at the opportunities that are out there in the market today to catch things before they happen. And if that's the case, you came to the right place. Don't forget to smash the like button if you like valuable content like this. And if it's your first time to the channel, if you've never seen this face before, go smash that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's dive into the gaming industry. Welcome back, long time no see. So we're gonna be talking about the gaming industry, right? And you guys are probably familiar with PlayStation or Sony, Microsoft, which has the Xbox, Google for Stadia, Nintendo, and a bunch of other companies. But I'm here to give you some value on maybe how you can approach this market without just putting your money into these stocks and just, right? So let's dive into the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox launches. You guys probably know there has been an increased surge of how many people are actually wanting to buy these products, right? Because with the whole pandemic, everyone's at home and these highly anticipated products finally launch, and because they do a limited batch, everyone jumps the gun and just buys a shiz ton of these products. And at the time of recording this video, there are PlayStations and Xboxes going for 2 to 3 times their market value on eBay and other third-party stores. It's honestly ridiculous. The only other time I've seen this happen was with the Nintendo Switch at the beginning of the pandemic when Animal Crossing first launched. I even considered selling my own, but I didn't because I actually really enjoy playing the Nintendo. So the stocks I want to talk about with you guys. So PlayStation 5 launches and ends up selling out. So that is an interesting stock to watch. Sony, easy one to pick up. I would buy it on a dip if you can. It's sitting at $94, $93, $92 in the last week or so. Has a dividend of 0.44% and a nice sweet P ratio of 13. Now, obviously Sony and the next one, Microsoft, which has the Xbox, they don't get all their revenue from just these products. And we'll get to that in just a minute, but remember that I said that, okay? So Xbox Series X, same thing, sold out pretty much everywhere right now. So the Microsoft stock in the last year or so has been, trending up, maybe last like 4 or 5 months. It's just kind of been going sideways. And for those of us who've been in the market for a long time do know that when something trends sideways for a long time, especially something with a really, really good product, good revenue, good growth, lots of different products in the market as well, that when they go through this sideways action period, that they have either a good upswing in the market or a downswing. And with a company like Microsoft, they're probably gonna have an upswing, especially with what's going on in the market right now with their Xbox Series X, right? And next we have Nintendo, absolutely loved by everyone, kids, adults, doesn't matter. Everyone loves Nintendo. And the beautiful thing is right now with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox, you're either an Xbox fan or you're a PlayStation fan. It's almost religious at this point. But Nintendo is really interesting because it doesn't really matter if you have an Xbox or if you have a PlayStation. You might either want one or you might already have a Nintendo. And it's not just for the exclusive games, because that is a big portion. But if you do have kids, most of them just prefer to play Nintendo games. It's really easy. The controller is easy. It comes with more than one controller. I think that's an important part of buying a console. You have to buy multiple controllers. Nintendo just comes with it. And if you weren't born yesterday, you were probably familiar with the Nintendo Classic, the NES, the 3DS, the Wii, the 2DS, the GameCube, all those things, Nintendo. And that's why I think Nintendo is a really unique product. And if you're looking at their stock, yes, they've been going up and up and up. It looks like they're having a cup and handle pattern going into from 2008 to now. And to fully complete that pattern, they do need to downswing a little bit, which they're downtrending right now. So they went from about $71 per share down to right now 66 and as low as 65. And if they could maybe possibly swing a little bit lower, maybe 65, 63 again, I could see them finishing this pattern by swinging closer to the 80, 90, maybe even $100 mark. Now, here's something that I wanted to share with you guys that made it this far into the video. Some people will tell you it's really easy to just pick out the Sony, the Microsoft, and the Nintendo, just buy their stock and sit on it. But I want to share with you guys a little bit of a strategy on how I'm going to be investing into these companies. So as time goes on, as these companies kind of level off, maybe go down, Microsoft's already leveled off, as these console companies kind of level off and go down over the next few weeks or so, I'm going to be picking up shares. And I actually own some of these companies already. In fact, I own all of these companies, Nintendo and Microsoft being my top holdings, but I do want to add to Sony as time goes on as well, because I want to have a really nice bulky position of all three of these companies, not just because they pay a dividend, obviously, and also not just because they sell consoles, but let me tell you this, when these consoles are sold, right, there's an initial hype, just like we're experiencing right now. This is when the majority of the sales are made, at least for the console, that is. The next step of the purchase process is to buy their memberships, right? So when these people, let's say 1 million people buy their consoles, when these people buy their consoles, including me, I'm gonna have to get a membership. Just like you, if you buy a console, you're probably gonna have to pay a membership. Nintendo is one that's free, and obviously local games on PlayStation and Xbox are free. But if you wanna play online on any of these platforms, you gotta buy a membership. And yeah, it's only $4, $5, $6, $7 a month. But if you multiply that by 1 million users, now we're talking about 6, 7 million figures every single month from their active users. And why is this important? Well, that is when their revenues are going to come in on the quarterly reports. And what do investors look at? Growth and quarterly reports. So the moment that those sales show up on the quarterly reports, it's going to look good. And then when the memberships show up on the quarterly reports, it's going to look even better. The third step of that sales cycle is when the investors or the analysts push the stock even higher by putting them as a buy rating versus maybe a hold or maybe even a sell. And all the institutional investors start buying in, the Robinhood traders, everybody starts piling into these stocks. Then a huge wave goes up. Sometimes that can correct. Sometimes this can happen after the next step. But let me tell you about step 4, which a lot of people don't account for, which is the sales of the games. And we're going to dive into some of the companies that I think you should be paying attention to besides the console companies. And this is really important as well, because as these companies sell more consoles after they sell their memberships, the next step in that cycle is for you to buy games. And not only are the console makers going to make their fair share of the money off of those games as well, but it's the game developing companies that you should be buying soon after the consoles go up, especially ones that are on a discount. What are those companies, you might ask? Well, let's talk about those as well. So the first one I have on the list is Activision Blizzard. You might have heard of them. They're doing really, really well. Ever since March of 2019, obviously a lot of companies fell during March, they have been on an uptrend like crazy. If you would have bought on one of the bloodiest days in March, you would be up almost 100% from the all-time lows on those days. The revenue is $6.5 billion per year. And here are some of the games that they own. You might be interested in Call of Duty, right? One of the most popular franchises in the world is Call of Duty. So they own that whole series. They also own Skylanders. They own Crash Bandicoot, which is pretty interesting. They own Doom, Prototype, Spider-Man, Tony Hawk, Ultimate Alliance, Transformers, some other games that you probably have heard of, World of Warcraft, Diablo, Candy Crush, Overwatch, and Hearthstone. In my opinion, they are at the A+ rating as far as gaming companies go. Next on the list, we have Ubisoft. You probably heard of this one too if you're into gaming. They are currently sitting at about 1860 at the time of making this video, and they've been hovering in the last year or so between 19 and as low as 13. They've been around since 1986, and let's talk about some of the games that they have on their platform. They have all the Watch Dogs series. They have Rainbow Six, Division, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Ghost Recon, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry 6, and the whole Far Cry series in general, Splinter Cell, Rayman Legends, and Just Dance. And I personally played most of these games. And if you're into gaming like I am, then you probably played them also. Next we have on the list is EA Sports. It's in the game. But in all seriousness, EA Sports is up quite drastically from, the lows right here in the 2009 to the 2012 era. And actually, some of their best games, in my opinion, actually came out in that era. But let's move past that and let's move into what they are trading at now, which is around $128 in the last year. They've been as low as $90 and as high as $146. They also pay a dividend, which is kind of nice. Now let's talk about some of the games that they own. So Apex Legends, FIFA, Madden, Star Wars, Sims, Plants vs. Zombies, Battlefield, Madden, Battlefront 2, Spore, which is a really fun game back in 2008. I wish they would do a remake of that one. Titanfall, NHL, Battlefront, a lot of big names, Mass Effect, Battlefield, Rock Band, Need for Speed, UFC, a lot of big names. EA Sports is definitely one you guys should check out. Next on the list, you probably actually haven't heard of this company, but it's Take-Two Interactive, and their stock price is absolutely incredible over the last few years. If you look back on the max chart, if you would have invested just back in 2012, you would have well over 10x, almost 15x your money just from that 13 price figure back in 2012. And even though you might have not heard of the actual company name, but I'm sure you would have heard of some of these big named games that they own. So you have Grand Theft Auto, Civilizations, Mall Tycoon, the BioShock series, Red Dead Redemption, Carnival Games, Borderlands, and they're honestly an absolute giant when it comes to video games. You've probably heard of all those games that I've just mentioned. Last but certainly not least, I have on the list is Tencent Holdings. Now, Tencent is a Chinese multinational technology conglomerate. They actually hold a majority stake in a lot of different companies as far as gaming goes. So here is a list. I'm not going to go through the whole list because it's a lot of games, but they own full ownership of Riot Games, which is Valorant and League of Legends. You don't even know how many people play League of Legends. It's absolutely bonkers. They have full ownership of Funcom. They have full ownership of Sharkmob, which is the ex-Ubisoft developers that started that company. They have 40% ownership of American developer Epic Games, which is Fortnite and the Unreal Game Engine, which is crazy. They have almost 84% ownership of Supercell, the makers of Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, and a few others. And by buying this company, you're also investing in Ubisoft, Activision Blizzard, Voodoo, and Reddit. And that's just half the list. If you want to check out the rest of the list, be my guest. And so now you guys are educated on how I would approach this space to make the most profit and the companies that I'm watching in order to do so. And like I mentioned before, first I would start stocking up on the console companies themselves, because that's where the money is going first, to the hottest new consoles. Once everyone and their kid and their grandmas have a console, the gaming companies themselves are going to have a huge increase in sales. And then next, the memberships start just rolling on in. So then I would start buying those other companies very soon after, especially the ones that are considered undervalued. And if you're investing for the 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the space, if you're playing the games or if you're familiar with the games that are being played, you already have an industry advantage into this space. All right, and that's how I'm approaching this space right now. Feel free to let me know down in the comment section below what your investment strategy is for this space. I'd love to hear from you. Also, I'd love to hear what you guys already own or maybe looking to buy, or maybe you have a suggestion on a video that you'd like me to make. Feel free to leave that down in the comment section below as well. Thanks again so much for watching, and if this video brought you any value, hit the subscribe button if it's your first time to the channel, and don't forget to smash that like button as well. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and more importantly, your entire year. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.